In this chapter of the video series, I'm going to describe how applications deployed on the Adobe Integrated Runtime can access the local file system and create, read, and write files, and also create and manipulate directories. All applications deployed on Air, whether they're built in Flex, Flash, or Ajax, have the ability to read and write to the local file system. This is because applications deployed as native applications on the operating system aren't subject to the same security rules as applications deployed through a web browser. When a Flex application is downloaded to the web browser and hosted by the Flash player, it's only allowed to operate within the web browser sandbox and is not allowed to reach outside and touch the file system, local databases, or printers. Applications installed locally can do all these things. When you work with the local file system, one of the choices you'll need to make is whether you work synchronously or asynchronously. I'll talk about this concept in more detail in later videos, but briefly, all file operations have to be handled either synchronously or asynchronously. When you handle a file operation synchronously, such as reading or writing data, the application thread is suspended for as long as the file operation is being executed. Here's what this means to an Air application. The Adobe Integrated Runtime has multiple threads, but only one thread that's dedicated to the front-end application. If you use synchronous file operations, any operations in the application itself, such as animations or user interactions, are suspended while the file operation is happening. If you're reading or writing a large amount of data, this can result in the application becoming temporarily unavailable to the user. So whenever you execute file operations that might take more than an instant, you should always use asynchronous operations instead. The nature of an asynchronous operation is that it executes the file operation in the background. The front-end application thread is still available to execute animations and receive user interactions. And whenever the asynchronous file operation is complete, it will dispatch an event that reports to you that the operation is complete and you can react. All of this is made capable by certain key ActionScript classes. The file class is designed to represent a single file or directory in the local file system. The file class executes tasks such as copying, moving, and deleting files, and also has tools for browsing the local file system. When you use the file class to browse, you see the operating system's browsing interface. For example, Windows Explorer's browsing dialog, or on Mac OS X, the Finder's browsing interface. The other key ActionScript class is the file stream. This class is responsible for reading and writing data to the local file system, and it can read and write with multiple modes, including UTF or Unicode text or binary streams. All of these abilities and rules apply to all Air applications, regardless of whether these applications are built in Flex, Flash, or Ajax. Flex developers, however, get some extra tools. There's a set of components based on the Flex list controls. The combo box, data grid, list, and tree controls have been repurposed into file system versions of the same controls. Whereas the base list controls deal with data in the form of array collections or XML list collections typically, the file versions of these controls get their data directly from the file system, and they allow the user to navigate and select files and directories from the file system visually. There's also a special component called the File System History button that I'll be describing later. This button gives you a very easy way of linking into the data provider for a list control or a data grid control and letting the user move forward and back through their directory and file selections. So in the following videos, I'll demonstrate many of these capabilities: the ability to represent and manipulate files and directories on the file system, to copy, move, and delete these files, to select the files using the browsing interface or using the Flex components, and the ability to read and write data to files that are on the local system.